Thank you all for coming to my talk this evening. This is really kind of a story time talk. I'm going to tell four stories that are commonly found in the Buddhist traditions. Can you all hear me okay? I know the rain is rather loud. You might want to come up a little bit closer. If you have an obstructed view, you might want to move around a bit. Feel free. Yeah, everyone come in and get comfortable. So the four stories that I'm going to tell are four stories that are really common in the Buddhist tradition. They're found in all of the traditions. They're not really specific to one, although the stories did come. One came from the Zen tradition, but it's told worldwide. One comes from the Theravada tradition, but it's told worldwide, and so forth. Now, these stories are often told to evoke thrill and wonder in children, but also they're used as meditation devices in monasteries across the globe. Monks and nuns study these stories and really farm the wisdom that is hidden in these stories. And so as a way of allowing us to contemplate some of that wisdom, I'll offer a bit of a question and answer session at the end. For that, we'll turn the cameras off so that we can speak more freely if we wish. So that would be nice to have that moment that we can talk for that. So I'll jump right in. The first story I'm going to tell is the story of the Buddha and the elephant. By the way, these are all my own photos in the slides from my travels. So if there are any questions about the photos too, write them down or hang on to them, and we can talk about that at the end as well. So, the Buddha and the elephant. Now, this story takes place during the Buddha's lifetime. He was actively teaching at a city in northern India called Kipalavatsu. Now, at this time in northern India, it was really common for wandering monks and mendicants and wise people to take to the streets and to start preaching their version of the truth, or Dharma, like that. And so there would be people preaching about life is eternal or life is not eternal. There is life after death, there is not life after death. The soul is both eternal or not eternal, and so forth. All of these existential issues that were often debated in the streets of Kipalavatsu. And occasionally the Buddha would walk down these streets and he would listen to these mendicants and monks and claim to his attendants, oh, these people don't know truth, they're blind, like that. His attendant Ananda. And so in a way of proving his point to Ananda and the rest of his students, he called an assembly together. Now, at this time, the Buddha was actually quite popular in Kipalavatsu, and he had many, many followers. So when he called an assembly, there would be many, many hundreds of people there. So he would sit on a stage, and there would be hundreds of people there to listen to what the Buddha had to say. And the Buddha turned to Ananda, and he said, Ananda, bring me an elephant. Now, apparently that wasn't a very tall order in Kipalavatsu at that time, because before long an elephant appears in front of the stage. No problem. At least for the Buddha. So the elephant is there. And then he turns to Ananda and he says, Ananda, bring me the people who were born blind at birth in the village and bring them up to the stage. So this takes some time, but before long there's about 5 or 6 people who were blind at birth in front of the stage with the elephant. And the Buddha says to the blind people, says, now tell me, good friends, what is an elephant? And Ananda leads the blind people over to touch different parts of the elephant. And some were touching the tail, and some were touching the side of the elephant, and some were touching the leg, and others were touching the trunk. And so one blind person said, well, the elephant is just like a pillar, the leg. An elephant is like a broom. Or the elephant is just like a hose. or the elephant is just like a wall, like that. And so before long, a fight breaks out between the blind people. An elephant is like this. No, an elephant is like that. No, an elephant is not like that. An elephant is like this. Wounding each other with their verbal darts, it says in the text. And so the wisdom behind this story is that the truth can't be divided up into truth claims, that there is no monopoly on the truth, that we can take these teachings and we make them make sense for ourselves, but they might make a different sense to somebody else, like that. And it's one of the great teachings that we keep seeing over and over again in the Buddhist canon, that there is no monopoly, there's no one truth, but that we all have our own truth. There are teachings that can help us find that truth, our truth, but it's not the same truth for everyone. That's the point there. So if you practice the Dharma, your truth might look your way, but that might look much different than the tail of the elephant to the trunk of the elephant, like that. A couple of other great parts where that comes up in the Buddhist canon. One of my favorites is one of his students asks the Buddha, what makes a good assembly, meaning a monastic assembly? And you'd think that the Buddha is going to say, oh, well, the people who practice the teachings that I give are a good assembly, and the people that practice other teachings are a bad assembly, right? One might think that's where the question's going to lead him. But his answer is quite interesting. He says, the assemblies that are skilled in debate and open-minded to other opinions, that's a good assembly. The assemblies that are poor in debate and closed-minded, that's a bad assembly. Like that. Very, very powerful. Pointing at that idea to keep an open mind and to be able to hear all of the truths. Like that. Beautiful teaching. And we're going to come back to that later in the presentation as well. There's another story which brings up that point as well.